playoffs last season, but that is one name that does kind of sit, sometimes sits rent free in the back of my head when I'm thinking about paying goaltenders who do not have a large body of work under them.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the goaltending market, especially, Jack Campbell's a fascinating one just because I remember how could the Leafs let Campbell go after he had such a decent year and he looked like he was finally putting it all together, and then you see the contract that the Oilers gave him and you're just like, yeah, no, I don't know, that's fine. You're good to let him go, and it was justified. You have to in some way kind of look at what Stolarz did and say, okay, you're the amount of games, that's the worrisome part, but the production was there, and everyone talks about the playoffs and how different it might have been if he didn't get hurt. But I just think that the alternative is what worries me more. If you don't keep Stolarz, like Joseph Woll, you're comfortable, at least you have him, but he's got his own injury history. You haven't really developed somebody behind those two to say, okay, no, you can let Stolarz go and bring up a Dennis Hildeby. We're not at that stage yet.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not saying not to bring back Stolarz or that I'm worried about it. It's just, if you can wait sometimes, you wait one more year and see if something else, or wait and see if it works out well, because it could go the other way at some point too. But when you look at a contract for Anthony Stolarz, what does that look like for you? What do you think is a fair market deal for both sides at this point?
I look at Stolarz and I'm saying, at 31 years old, maybe I'm okay with a max 3-4 years. If you're gonna if he's pushing for term, but something tells me they're gonna try to keep this like a short-term deal, maybe 2-3 years. And I'm saying in about the $4 million range. I'm comfortable with 4. When you get to the 4.5, 5. To me, that's it's tough to get that type of money right now for goaltenders. You have to prove that you're durable enough to play a good chunk of games, and you've got to have some the production. He's got one of the two for sure. He's got the production, just does not have that ability to say I could play 50 games in a season for you.
Yeah, he hasn't done it yet, at least, and that is kind of the concern when it comes to paying him that boatload of money. I'm taking a look just now to see what maybe some comparables could possibly be. And, Jonas Korpisalo, I guess, he's a $4 million goaltender, but I feel like Stolarz that's played significantly better than Korpisalo, so he's got to be worth more than that. Kevin Lankinen got $4.5 million as a backup / 1B goaltender. So maybe that's something you're looking at potentially, or a Vemelka at $4.75. Joey Daccord got paid $5 million on a long-term deal. He's a little younger, but could Joey Daccord be that type of guy? I think between 4.5 and 5 is probably the sweet spot there of what you're going to be looking for. For someone who is going to come in, who's going to compete, and maybe turns out to be your 1A, but you could also be comfortable with him being your 1B at that price. If it's anything north of 5, it would be tough to stomach him sitting on the bench for, 45 plus games a year, if that's how it kind of plays out. So I think between 4 and 5 million probably is right about where you got to be when you're putting together a tandem goaltending.
Yeah. Well, that's it, right? And again, I think Stolarz has done, he finally feels like he's in a place where he should feel comfortable about his role and, getting that next contract. It's just, he has to also understand that goalies, especially in the NHL, your best ability is your availability, right? We talked how much about Joseph Woll, and what's the one thing holding him back is his ability to be durable.
Yeah.
Stolars has to prove the same thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. So maybe a little bit more of a runway could allow them to, I don't know, see that. But it sounds as though something could be in the works and could be coming down the pike here in the next week or so as we lead up to training camp. Again, something that we'll monitor pretty closely as we approach training camp. Does a third goalie need to be brought in, or is the Hildebeest enough for the Maple Leafs? We'll have that conversation next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morsuti with you as always. The Maple Leafs pretty set with their top two goaltenders, one of the best tandems in the NHL, I would say, in Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. But it kind of drops off after that, especially when it comes to experience. You know, the last couple of years, they've had a third goalie who's had a significant amount of NHL experience. So when an injury occurred, they did have someone who could pop up, right? Matt Murray was there for them. They've gone the Dave Riddick route, you know, Curtis McElhinney route, and, you know, if you're going back a ways. Right now, you look at the goaltending and the depth chart after Stolarz and Woll, it drops off pretty quick. And you get to Dennis Hildeby, the only other goaltender who does have NHL experience in the organization. And that's only 6 games where he had an .878 save percentage last year. Outside of that, no other goaltender in the organization with NHL experience. Is that a concern for you, Dave, and something the Leafs may try to or should try to address prior to training camp?
I think it is to a certain degree because you saw that you needed a third goalie last year.
4. They started 4 goaltenders.
Sorry, 4.
Matt Murray had a couple starts as well.
But yeah, you had Murray, you had Hildeby, you had Stolarz, and obviously Woll. Like, in today's NHL, if you're not ready for your third and fourth guy to start, then you're not prepared. Like, you're just not prepared for what's just, you know, the goaltending position takes a lot, right? And so I think Hildeby, I'm comfortable if they end up saying like he's our third guy. I'm fine with that, just because you're just not finding a whole lot of decent value out there. Like even Matt Murray, like sure he only played twice, went 1-1 in that stretch. I think one game was against Washington that he played the one game against.
Possibly, yeah. I can't recall what the games were. I just remember him playing.
Yeah, sorry. One was against one was against Washington. They lost 5-2. I remember he wasn't very good in that one. Then he beat Buffalo.